All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley White. I'm the engagement coordinator here at SANS. Welcome to another Sentinel Stories. We are so glad to have you all here with us today. And we are so happy to have Chris Hollerith here with us today to share his story and his experience. So Chris, I'm going to just do a quick intro and then we'll get going.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Super excited to be here with everyone. See a lot of names I recognize, so it's really exciting to see everyone. My name's Chris Howler. I've been playing IT and security for about 13, almost 14 years now. Got my start in the Navy, where I went straight out of high school, joined as an information system technician for the U.S. Navy. I did 8 years active and then another three in the reserves. And while I was active duty, I got a chance to be on an electronic attack squadron where we were out of Whidbey Island, Washington, and flew the A-18G Growlers on the USS Harry S. Truman. Did one deployment with them for 4 years. The deployment itself was about 9 months. And then I did another 4 years at the Navy Cyber Defense Operations Command. And that was a really unique and interesting place to learn how to do cyber instead of sysadmin work. And I'm very thankful to have that opportunity to do the incident response. And I was the incident management lead there, where we responded to any classified or unclassified computer incident on Navy networks globally. Loved it, learned so much. Also glad I'm not doing it anymore because it was extremely stressful work. Uh, but it was a very good chance to learn how to do this type of work and, really build up a lot of skills. And that's also where I had my chance to do my first SANS course that NCDoc paid for at the Virginia Beach SANS event that occurred in 2018. Did my first SANS course, GNFA, absolutely fell in love with it. Got a chance to do Net Wars, and that was my first like real CTF where I got a chance to like learn like, hey, lots of people do this stuff and they compete to do this kind of work. And I was just instantly hooked doing that type of Net Wars uh, competitions. So 2019, I got off active duty, joined a intelligence company called Centripetal, and did cyber threat intel for about 2 years. And then I pivoted to do offensive security, pen testing, red teaming for a few years with Centripetal. Moved to another position, did some more pen testing, red teaming, and now I am at Omada Technologies, where I am a principal security consultant, and super excited to continue doing, some like the red team offensive pen testing work, but also have a chance to really work closely with customers to implement products and security technologies on top of just that consulting work. So it's helping to go a lot further than just, hey, here's a project that we did, here's the problems we found, but actually getting into, here's how we create long-term solutions to enhance your security for your organization and exactly how we can achieve that based on what your needs are as a customer. So very thankful to work with the people at Omada here and continue to do that kind of work and help drive impact. So I've got way too many certifications. I'm sure. I mean, I know most of you guys in the call here. The one I'm the most proud of is my GSE. I got that in I think 2022, 23. Whenever it came off of that pause from COVID. Um, really exciting stuff. Constantly doing new certs and learning new things. Like I'll never stop. And got a book I co-authored that I wrote with Jesse Varsalone, who's a professor for UMGC. Um, I got my master's when I was there at UMGC while I was still active duty, and he is also a coach for the U.S. Cyber Team as well, where he's helping with the pipeline program, where we help develop younger talent into individuals that learn over the year-long period to have a better chance of joining the team at the next season. So, uh, love doing the CTS. I know I've talked a lot about that. It's really the intersection of theory and actually proving it through practical application. I'm also a big fan of things like National Cyber League, NCL, which I know that most people are doing. and then also Hack the Box. I have a Hack the Box machine I built and released. And then I've been a coach for the US Cyber Team for 2 years, attack defense coach, where what we're doing is very dynamic back and forth competitions of people hacking each other versus just the Jeopardy based format of trying to solve questions. So I know that was a lot, but really enjoy doing this stuff. Super happy with where my journey is taking me so far, and where I can continue to go in the future as well.
So that actually leads me to my next question. But before I get to that, I just want to give everyone a little bit of a background. So of how this next hour is going to go. So you've obviously heard Chris has a ton of experience, massive background in cyber, before cyber coming into this field. And so we just wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of hear his journey and his story. So I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, and then what we're going to do is we're going to open the floor for you guys to ask him questions. We would love for you to turn your cameras on if you are in a place where we can see your face. And so when we get to that point, I will ask you all to ask any questions you have. If you are in an area where you cannot ask questions by unmuting your mic, you can just put them in the chat and we will ask them for you. But so you just talked about kind of what the future holds for you now. So I know you're in your second grad cert program right now. So what do you think is going to be next for you? Are you going to keep going, get more certificates, or what do you think is going to be next for you?
Yeah, great question. So I got one more course left on this grad cert. I up the GRTP, which I've been looking at for a long time. And then I am pretty torn between going for the purple team grad cert or just going straight for the MSISC. So definitely a lot of interesting things on both ends. I really like the idea of doing the research with Dr. Ulrich and trying to figure out something cool to research and publish on that end. And yeah, the good news is I still got plenty of GI Bill, so there's still lots of room left.
Yes, that is a huge benefit that you should keep using until you cannot anymore.
Oh yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. All right. So obviously we are here today because the US Cyber Team, that is what we mentioned. And so how did you find yourself as a coach for the US Cyber Team?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the other alumni, Jacob Elliott, who he was also some of the first individuals on the winning teams for SANS when we started doing NCL a few years ago. He got involved with the US Cyber Team back in I think season two, or maybe even season one, way long ago. And this is an initiative from DHS and CISA to fund individuals that are under 25 years old to go compete in international cyber competitions on behalf of the US. Now, SANS is a little non-traditional as far as the uh, student type, right? So like I'm definitely over 25. I know most of the people in this call are over 25, but that shouldn't let you stop you from, helping to contribute to the program if you are interested. So I'm very thankful to have the chance to be involved as a coach for the attack defense portion of the competition. I saw Jacob was doing all this cool stuff. Like they were flying out to Greece. They were in San Diego doing, yeah, like the international cyber competition with all these teams. And then Will was involved too. He was on one of the winning NCL teams that we had as well. And he was one of the athletes. So I saw Jacob doing all this cool stuff. I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, like when's the next time this is getting started up? I'm pretty interested. And then finally, that time came around, spoke to the coordinators that were setting up the team, got a chance to get interviewed, actually went forward. They selected me as the coach, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now. We had a chance to go to Santiago, Chile in October last year, which was really cool. I've never been in South America before that. And it was extremely rewarding to be able to be there with all of these talented athletes from across the globe. So like we have probably some of like the most talented young individuals on the planet right there in that room competing against each other from every continent. And I was wearing this ridiculous outfit of like suspenders with this big old Uncle Sam hat and all these things that lit up, handing out, you know, American flag stickers and bald eagles and stuff to all the competitors. So it's been extremely rewarding and super glad to have the chance to really help work with these younger athletes and help develop them into lifelong careers.
That sounds amazing, especially to be able to get involved and to travel and also just share your experience. So tell me a little bit more about actually like being a coach. Like what is your like hands-on like day-to-day work with them when you're out at the competition?
Sure. Yeah. So like there's a lot of work that we put in outside of the competition. Um, this really comes down to figuring out like, hey, these are the things we saw in the last few competitions. So we can reasonably expect the same things to occur in the future ones. One of the areas we struggled with the most before I got on board was attack defense competitions because it is so different than normal CTFs. Um, this is something where you're given six different websites, more or less. Each has anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 or 20,000 lines of code that have you have 8 hours to figure out. Hey, where are the vulnerabilities? How do we weaponize them? How do we steal flags from the other teams? So one of the things I was brought on board to help with was to figure out, how do we actually triage these things effectively, do them faster, and then build out a pipeline to do it in a methodical way. That way, when we get to the competitions, we can do things and not just get kind of overwhelmed by what's in front of us. So we've spent a lot of time training in off hours on some of our specific, um, you know, training camps that we do either virtually or in person. Uh, some of the other athletes are extremely talented, like Josiah Stearns in particular. He's built out a whole open source attack defense range that we heavily leverage as far as these training platforms. And that, built out all the infrastructure for us. So we just have to worry about, hey, what kind of services are we going to have the athletes train on? And then what teams are we going to have people in? And how do we coordinate everyone to be available for that time? So there's a lot of time that we spend training off hours, and I've designed a lot of training to actually find open source projects on GitHub or SourceForge. And what we do is we actually take these live projects that are used out in the wild, and then I say, hey, let's go find some CVEs, something brand new, 0 days, give everyone a copy of the source code, as well as some containerized versions of the applications. And then also I'll deploy a few live versions of those systems as well. And we actually go through, we found about, I think we're at 15 to 17 CVEs just based on that training alone that we do with the cyber team. And that, goes so far beyond just getting prepared for the competition. It's also like, hey, what does responsible disclosure even look like for these athletes? These are people that are still in college for the most part, and they're trying to learn like, okay, we have all these things we found. How do we responsibly tell the people to fix them or give them the instructions on how to fix them in a way that reduces that risk, and also get something like a CVE assigned for this work, and then you know, beyond that, we can put that on our resumes and say, hey, here is, my resume coming straight out of college, or I'm still in college and I'm looking for an internship. And I got 3 or 4 CVEs because of the research I've done with the US cyber team. So that has been extremely compelling and very exciting to have be a part with. And going to continue doing that as far as helping to build out the training.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Kind of building off of that, how has your involvement helped benefit you both like personally and professionally? Because a little bit, what I'm hearing is by being a coach, this is helping you, not just professionally to add this to your resume and CV, but I feel like personally this is also kind of giving you some major benefits.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I love meeting new people, and I love meeting people that are so devoted and have just that same level of passion. And these athletes, a lot of them have a huge amount of passion. They just need a direction to point it in or a way to help choose, like, hey, where am I going with this talent? Or how do I turn this talent into a career that I can use, for the rest of my life? So that has been extremely personally professional rewarding from both a leadership and a mentorship perspective of being able to help these athletes beyond just the competition, but really looking long term of like, hey, here's how we actually make a career out of these skills. Um, so that has been very rewarding. There's obviously the travel is always a lot of fun, be able to do that. I'm actually flying out to Colorado for the NICE conference, which is hosted by NIST next week. So we're doing a big presentation with the cyber team there, talking about red teaming in academia together. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to that. But like, man, it is just so personally, professionally rewarding to be able to help work with these juniors and develop them into extremely talented individuals in the workforce.
Yeah, that's great. So then kind of going off of this, this whole topic is how could anyone on this call get involved with the US Cyber Team? Maybe they are under the age of 25 and could become a player. But then maybe they're over the age of 25 and cannot play, but could get involved in other ways. What are some ways that they could be involved with the US Cyber Team?
Yeah, great question. So I can't recommend enough for everyone and absolutely everyone to compete in the US Cyber Open. Yeah, it's open to everybody. You don't have to be under 25 for that. The under 25 limitation is only for individuals that are either trying to join the team or the pipeline program. But the CTF itself is open to everyone from any nation. And we try to really push that out to say, like, hey, we want to get as many people involved in just trying to solve challenges as possible. So if you've done the NCL, if you've done Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, something like that, and you like the challenge of these CTFs, please go ahead and do it. I've been making a ton of challenges for this upcoming one, and I'm really excited to see what people think about it. And then going further, as far as helping the program directly, we're always looking for either more coaches, more technical mentors, or even individuals that aren't necessarily technical, but help with things like career management, or we're even looking at stuff like mental health as far as figuring out how to shape how competitors view the competition during the competition because it's so high stress, and some management skills on that side. So there's a ton of different opportunity, and I really can't recommend it enough, and love talking about or trying to figure out a spot where we can get anyone to help fit into to give to this program.
That's great. Do you have any links or things that you can share with the group about the competition? Or any,
I
if you want to pull up a website or anything that you want to share with the folks about that stuff?
Let me see if I can drop this in the chat.
Sure.
See. So we have the upcoming season 5 activities that are going to be starting next month, I believe. And let me see if I can pull this up actually. Oh boy. So what we are doing is we are actually starting the virtual kickoff on Thursday, June 5th. And then the Cyber Open competition itself is going to start on June 6th and go through the end of June 18th. There are some prizes and some things that people can win as far as competing in that competition itself. Having a trouble sharing, so I might not be able to share
Well,
my screen. Apologies on that. But that is on that link. Please go ahead and register for the Cyber Open if you are interested in competing. And I'm actually going to be putting together a lot more challenges and some write-ups to share with everybody once they're done as well.
Okay. So thank you, Chris, for sharing that link on there. We want to open the floor up to questions from you guys on the call. So if you want to unmute yourself, ask any questions to Chris, or if you want to put it in the chat, feel free. We've got a question in the chat already. So if someone expressed in being a coach for the cyber team, what advice would you provide to them?
Yeah. So first fill out the form. It's on their website. I know the guy that gets it. His name is Brad, and he's constantly looking for new individuals. So yeah, please fill it out and just be yourself, right? Like we're always looking for new talent and new individuals with their own experiences to help give back to the program. So like, it doesn't matter if we've already got people that have done hack the box or, have specific certs or something. Like we're looking for individuals with experience and their own background that we can help guide and build winning teams with as well. Um, I think that's Derek that asked that question. Um, so yeah, definitely would recommend just putting in your CTF experience. The athletes are extremely interested in individuals that have won plenty of CTFs in the past, because there are a lot of people that say they're technical, but don't necessarily have the technical capacity to solve challenges at the level that the competitors do at the cyber team.
Yeah, I'll read out the next question just so everyone can hear it. You've given a lot as a coach. What have you gained from individuals that you've coached or mentored?
Yeah. So what I've gained personally is the chance to, just be that mentor to watch these individuals, transition from, I'm in college on the team trying to learn what to do into like, hey, I just got hired, making six figures straight out of college because of these things you were able to help me learn and apply to my career. Um, so that and also the travel has been really fun too. So definitely gained a lot from that personally, which is fun. We're going out to Tokyo later this year, and then may or may not be Australia the year after that.
That's pretty awesome.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Another question that come in. Have any of the team members you've coached kept in touch afterwards for academic or career advice or networking?
Yeah, great question. So and absolutely, like constantly talking to everyone from these teams. And most of the athletes that age out of the program stay involved in one way or another as either a mentor or helping to motivate the current athletes for the current season as well. So absolutely love connecting on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time talking to these athletes as well, and helping guide them in their career decision choices. So yeah, it's constantly staying in contact with everyone, and love the networking side.
All right. While we wait for some other questions to come in, I'll ask one. This is going to be my mental health hat I'm going to put on. You work a full-time job. I know that you have a family. You're a student. Now you had this hat as being a coach. I think this is a concern for many of our students because you guys are all have lives and you're all very busy people. So how do you balance doing all of this, but still then succeeding in your program, and doing well in all these areas? Like how do you do it all? How do you balance it all? How do you keep sane?
True. Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I have way too much fun doing it. So that helps a lot because I enjoy solving these challenges and then helping teach others how to solve them or approach them. Uh, my wife says I do too much, and she's definitely correct. So it's usually a mix of a lot of coffee, I write things out a lot too. And that helps me prioritize the things that I should be focusing on next, which things are worth my time, which ones can be delayed, or which ones I can even just straight up say no to. Like I love helping out with this stuff, and I just can't set aside the time to do it right now. Um, so a lot of writing, and then yeah, just it is too much fun doing this kind of work and helping to build things and focus on, how we're helping these junior athletes learn and develop as well.
Anyone else have any other questions? I've got more. All right. Another question I have is, you talk about, there was a question we had about advice for, trying to become a coach for either the US Cyber Team or any other teams out there. Do you have any advice for so other CTFs or things for how your peers here could help kind of advance their skills to get them ready to become a coach for US Cyber Team or other competitions out there?
Sure. Yeah. So if you've never done CTFs, I can't recommend it enough because it is entirely practical. We're no longer in that theory section of, hey, here's how things are supposed to work, or here's how, these things are designed. It is, whether or not these things can actually happen, and if they can, how do you do it? How does it get done at that tactical level? So, like a good example is like, hey, in theory, I can guess your RSA private key. In theory, right? Enough times I could definitely guess it. Is it practical to be able to guess a 2048-bit private RSA key? If you can do that, you're one phone call away from having your own private island. So, being able to figure out like how do we actually do these things for real? How do I take a PCAP and parse it out for things that are suspicious or worth investigations? Or how do I carve out files from a specific system that is a dead box system, and we have to carve the files offline from it? How do we actually exfiltrate something from a database on a website? It's entirely practical, which is why I love it so much. And y- you know, one of the coolest parts about it is that when I'm designing these CTF challenges or helping to solve them, it really doesn't matter how you get the flag as much as you do get it. And there's so much creativity on things like Hack the Box. Um, and I see Darren put a question in there about Hack the Box too. So like one of the coolest things about building my own machines for Hack the Box was seeing how people solved it and what they were thinking when they were solving it and how they approached it. Um, Back when raid forums was still online on Tor, like people were just talking freely for the active machines, and it was totally wild and super exciting to see people talk about how to solve my machine and how they're thinking about it, and seeing like, man, these guys are completely in the wrong spot. Like they're not even looking in the right spot, or these guys are on the right place, or they got like 80% of it. Um, and it is still really exciting to talk to people that do a lot of hack the box work and then tell them like, oh, hey, have you done my machine? Um, and then hearing them talk about like, oh, hey, I loved it. Here's how I approached it. Here's what I learned from doing it. Um, so to answer your question, Darren, lessons learned from spending so much time building labs, challenges, and the hack the box machine. Specifically, I've learned that you can be you can be good at breaking things by just learning how to break them, but you won't be great until you actually build them yourself. So if you know how to build these things from the ground up, then when you go in to actually break them or teach people how to fix those problems and give them those recommendations, you can do it in a way that sets you apart from anyone else. So I'm very thankful for the chance to actually spend time building these challenges, learning how to do things like build containerized applications, deploying them, building out, different flavors of websites and how to do that. Um, Started doing a lot of vibe coding recently, which has been a ton of fun. And for things like CTF challenges, well, yeah, I'll just hit tab autocomplete every time all day and just let it rip. Because I don't care what happens to that website. I'm just trying to get things set up so that people can try to hack into it anyways. So um a great question. And then I see Jason asked a question too for have you noticed anything unique or different on how other countries go about cybersecurity since some CTS are international? And that's a fantastic question too. And the answer is yes. Europe and Asia specifically, they have computer science programs built into their early education programs. So they have kids that are in elementary and middle school that are learning computer science, cryptography, how to apply all these things. And it is unbelievable just how effective they are at specifically cryptography challenges and this very complex math that is required to solve those types of challenges. So that's actually one of the biggest focus areas we have for the U.S. cyber team this upcoming season is trying to figure out like hey, how do we get more talent that is very good at cryptography or individuals that can help teach others in cryptography and we're actually looking at like, hey, do we just approach math majors and people that enjoy solving puzzles and then just say like, hey, here's how you solve math problems, but with a cyber flavor to them. So there's a lot of interesting things, and that was something I learned a lot from Team Europe and Team Asia specifically. So great question, Jason.
Yeah. I want to ask Derek's question too, but kind of the next one kind of builds off of that. But considering all the stories we hear about the younger generations becoming less technically literate from using AI, tablets, and whatever else, what have you seen from the team members you've coached that sets them apart from that majority in their age group?
Yeah, great question. So the thing that is the most important is that level of passion and curiosity and the ability to want to solve problems and to want to learn through it. So um, that is one of the biggest things we're looking for. Like there's always a level of raw technical talent that an athlete needs to have in order to be on the team. And then we look for some of those soft skills of like, hey, do they have that level of resiliency to when they get caught somewhere or get stuck, figure out like, hey, am I taking some kind of a methodical approach to this problem, or am I going to start playing Minecraft? Well, I got flown out to Chile, so um, those are the skills we're really looking for in these athletes, and we found that it really helps us when we're developing the talent pipeline as well for those individuals that have the skills to want to learn and be hungry on learning those things. Um, we do use a lot of AI for the team, and that is caveated in the perspective of we're using AI to help enable us learn better or do things faster, not replace us. Because as soon as you let AI replace your critical thinking, you're just absolutely toast, and it is going to do very bad things for your career long term at that point. Whereas if we use it as a tool to help enable us, we can go extremely far and learn a lot of things from that.
Derek wants to know how many gorillas would it take to defeat you?
I knew he was going to ask this. He told me he was going to ask that question. So, I'd say a solid 3.5 gorillas probably would take to stop me. Depends on how much coffee I had that morning.
His his actual question is, you mentioned theories and hypotheticals earlier as part of competitions. How does your approach in the real world differ and what remains the same?
Yeah, great question. So, the thing with that is theory is important we have to understand what we're looking at and how we're looking at it. And at the same time, it has to be practical. So, just because a website has a self-signed certificate doesn't necessarily mean that it's less secure. Like, sure, people browsing to that website, they can't get information or be verified that this website is authentically who they say they are. But all that traffic going back and forth between the websites still encrypted. Just because it's a self-signed certificate doesn't mean that traffic isn't encrypted. So on something like an internal network where there's self-signed certs, like I don't really view that as a big risk, especially if they have their own PKI deployment through ADCS or something along those lines. So like all this really comes down to understanding what the business context is for an organization and what their level of risk appetite is in order to make accurate recommendations. Because anyone can spin up Nessus and let Nessus rip, give you 3,000 findings back and copy paste and say, here's all your problems. That is completely infeasible and not something that a customer can actually take to do actual information with. So, it's the approach is all about what the actual impact is to the business operations for a customer and making sure that what we're doing actually focuses on like this could prevent you from being able to conduct business, or this allows certain levels of records to be stolen from your business, or this amount of money stolen based on these checking accounts. So it's always just focusing on what those impacts and what those outcomes are going to be versus just kind of talking about, oh, well, this could happen, or, like best practice says something along this lines. Like I'm looking for actual raw impact on things that affect business.
So I've got another question about being coach for the team. Is this something that there's a time limit that you can only be a coach for a certain amount of years, or is this kind of however long you would like to be involved?
Yeah. So this is something that they are very open to just having people stay on as long as they want. So this is my second year being a coach. I am actually going to be moving into a senior technical mentor position for next season, specifically to make sure I'm able to spend more time with my younger children. So it's fun. And, kind of going back to juggling all these priorities, like I love being able to be the coach and help lead these other individuals, and I can still have that capability just on less of a uh, personal kind of amount of time that I dedicate to it from the senior technical mentor stuff. So I never want to stop being involved with the program because it is so much fun to help train and develop these athletes. But I do personally have to kind of step back after my second year of doing this, reduce my amount of time commitment, but still stay very involved with the program.
That's good to know. So you can kind of change your roles. You don't have to always be stuck in the same one. So it's good to know that there's some flexibility with it.
Oh yeah, and they take tons of feedback all the time. So like this is still a very new program. We're still on year 4 of it.
Okay.
Starting up year 5, and this is still officially the first grant, the first 5-year grant that was made by NICE, the National Institute of Cybersecurity Education, through NIST. Um, so, like, everyone's still learning how to do this, the best way to approach it. At the international level, I mean, this is still year 4 internationally too. So they're all still learning how to do this and how to approach it. So tons of different ways to approach these challenges, and like just like SANS or NCL, I'm gonna stay involved as long as I can, just because it's too much fun.
It's good to hear. So then, How many students, how many athletes, because you keep calling them athletes, how many athletes do you guys typically have you had so far for each season?
Yeah, so each season we have 30 athletes that are selected to join the team. For most competitions that involve travel, we are limited to 12 to 15 athletes that actually make the travel team and get flown out to go compete. When we are actually competing during those days and during those competitions themselves, it is 10 that are allowed to be active at one time, and then two that are standby that can jump in and join the competition. Um, that being said, usually we have about 160 or so individuals that are in the pipeline program, which is where they were very, very close to being selected to join the team. But we want to help continue to develop their skills and their techniques so that, for the next season, they spend a whole year learning how to do all of these different types of challenges or approach them and take those skills into the next season and try and compete for another spot on the cyber team as well.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions for Chris? Favorite cyber category?
Yeah. Oh man, this is a good mix between I like forensics, password cracking, and web application hacking. So those are really some of my favorites. And like, I mean, everyone knows like I love doing the password cracking training for NCL. And I feel like we've made a lot of progress in accelerating how we approach that category specifically. And I have a lot of different additional things I want to help moving on to there. So for the NCL bot, I'm actually spending some time to try and implement various MCP servers into those questions as they get pulled down from Cyber Skyline, and then helping to figure out like, hey, can we use one of these models to help us figure out how to approach these questions or give certain things to check for on these questions, or even format, how we approach the hashes or do things like decoding base 64 for us automatically. So, yeah, I love doing this stuff. I can tell you my least favorite category is definitely crypto, but I got a lot of things I like doing.
Do you know of any good resources or books for learning cryptography and the associated math?
Yeah, great question. I am not too familiar with those, but I can definitely find some of those answers and get them to you. Um, we are getting a lot more on the coaching side, a lot more talent on the cryptography side. I know quite a few of those individuals have written books as well. So I'll get a list of those resources and try to get back to you. Um, and this is who's Ayafa? If
I made a note for you, so I'll get you
I
the name.
apologies if I pronounce your name wrong.
Any other questions for Chris? No? All right. Well, Chris, where can people find you if they want to? Oh, wait, hold on. Any topics in cyber, red or blue, you feel more people should hone their skills on?
Oh, great question. So the things people should spend the most time working on their skills are the absolute basics. You have to be completely rock solid on doing things like, how do I gather PCAP? How do I analyze this PCAP? What does each layer do when I'm reviewing this information? And what do I expect to see when I'm looking through packets or when I'm looking through how these things communicate with each other? Uh, because if you don't have that completely rock solid foundation of understanding things at a base level, it makes things extremely complicated and extremely difficult if you're trying to do, some of the more complex tasks or challenges on top of that. So being able to understand exactly what you're looking at when you're debugging something and trying to figure out what things are going wrong and where, and understanding how to peel those layers back to figure out those key pieces is going to save you a ton of time, a ton of frustration, and really make you very effective at what you do.
All right. What was your IT background, networking or web admin?
Yeah, so it was a mix of networking and sysadmin work. So it was funny. I went through all this training for the Navy back in 2012, where we were learning things like Windows XP. I got certified for Windows XP, I think a few months before it officially was deprecated. Um, and then things like Windows Server as well. So a lot of Cisco switches, learning things, protocols just at a very basic level, Wireshark, DHCP, IP routing, um, packet tracer, if you're familiar with that, and then Windows Server. And then when I actually got to my squadron, it was a lot of break fix kind of help desk based work, which was fun until we deployed on the boat. And then when we were actually deployed on the boat, we had a chance to run our own servers and do that actual technical sysadmin work, which, that was my first introduction to Active Directory. Learned a ton from being able to do it on the actual, help desk sysadmin side. So now when I'm doing it on the pen testing, red teaming side, I have that understanding of like, hey, here's how it's supposed to be used or how it's designed to be used, and why an organization uses it in that way or makes those decisions, which I'm very thankful to have that experience to lean back on. Um, and then I got to NCDOC after that, and that's where I got the first taste of cyber and incident response. And like I thought for sure I was going to be in sysadmin work my whole career, which I was excited about. And then I started doing the cyber work, and I was like, man, this is way more fun, and there's a lot less trouble tickets. So it was uh it was good. And I'm really thankful for it. And then the CTFs in particular are what helped cement and build my skills as well.
All right. So we've got a follow up on Jason's question. Do you see this issue I just lost it. Do you see the issues happening a lot, even with seasoned cybersecurity experts, or do you feel that there's an area where people tend to forget that might have been right in front of you? So that was a follow up on cyber red or blue. Do you feel people need to hone their skills on?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Damon. Great question. And I see this all the time. I see this everywhere where there's these people that call themselves cyber experts and they constantly overpromise and underdeliver, and they can't do extremely basic things like read a PCAP file to prove why something was done incorrectly or why it didn't work, or even just read things like HTTP headers. And so like I've seen all of these reports, pen testing reports in particular, where specific HTTP headers are listed as a finding, and then they're not even in the evidence provided in in the report. So like that, and then stuff like the cross-site scripting block header has been deprecated for like 6 years at this point. Modern browsers don't use that header at all. So even considering reporting that as a finding shows that, this is an individual that hasn't spent the time learning how to do these things or learn how to apply these things in an effective way. So that's why I'm so uh, specific about learning how to do these things at the foundational level and being able to apply that and learn and do that research. So great question.
All right, Brett's got a really long question here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but I'm going to let you read through it, Chris.
Sure.
Um, but the biggest part is your recommendation for educators, mentors, communities, parents to guide interested junior hackers, so they can gain some skills, because there's quite a huge gap from little to no technical computer understanding, essentially at this point.
Sure. Yeah. So thankfully places like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, all of these huge training websites have like really exploded over the last 5 years or so. Um, And like honestly, I didn't even when I graduated high school in 2011, I didn't even know that computer science was a thing. I grew up in Maine, right? So I didn't know you could go to school to learn how to program computers. I just thought it was something that people learned. I had no idea. So the availability of this technical training, everything on YouTube, people you can ask in Discord, all of these CTFs are really just absolutely phenomenal ways to learn how to do these things. And there's so much availability in learning this. It is as geez, uh, Ed says, we're back in the golden age of hacking. So
And Jason's got another question here. Any cool ways or advice you leverage AI to teach or learn for the US cyber team? The example he has is that he uses ChatGPT voice mode to teach as if it were a student.
yeah, when we're using AI for the cyber team, I don't like necessarily using it in a way to help teach others as much as helping use it as a tool to either focus what our thoughts are and what our approach is, or do a lot of analysis, very baseline static analysis that we otherwise would spend maybe a few hours doing. Uh, I like using the voice mode, like you said, to kind of like ask questions and throw things back and forth. Um, but these students and these athletes are extremely talented individuals. They are very, very good at solving problems and learning how to solve problems quickly. So honestly, it would really shortchange them if we were using AI to try and teach them because they are so far beyond that level. As much as using the AI as a tool to help, do that human in the loop of here's how we do things better or accelerate how we're doing these things or, work on doing that.
Then Robert wants to know, what do you wish someone would have told you when you were starting out? And then what roles or certs helped you the most early on in your career?
Yeah, great question. So, thing I would have loved to learn earlier in my career is, first what CTFs were and how to get involved with them. Like, they really haven't hit the scene until 6, 7 years ago is when they like actually started becoming really available. So the earlier you can start doing the hands-on, very technical, very specific work, the more you're going to learn. Like, oh man, I, this wasn't. I didn't learn as much as I thought I knew at this point. Um, like I started doing Hack the Box in 2019. I had probably a dozen certs at that time. I had my CISSP. Um, I did my first Hack the Box machine. It was a Linux Easy Box, and I had no idea what I was doing. I booted it up, and I was completely lost, and it genuinely had me considering, and should I even do a career in cyber at this point? And it was so humbling to think like I have all these certifications, but I don't know what to actually do with them at this point. So it was a ton of training and trying to figure out like, okay, you have an IP. How do you get root? Like, where do you even start? Um, and this was back in the day when Hack the Box was, the invite code that you had to hack into and figure out how to get into and all of that. And like, man, I learned a ton from working with other individuals on how to do that, how to learn it, building out a methodology, building out an approach on how to do these things in that kind of way as well. So, like, really, the earlier you can get exposed into doing that level of work and that level of technical excellence, the much further it's going to be. Um, on the cert part of that question, like, obviously, I wish I started SANS a lot earlier too, or was able to do it a lot more. So my first one was doing the GNFA back in 2018, and like just the level of technical work was so exciting. Just because I knew I liked doing it, I didn't know what the right outlet was at that time. So being able to do that and Net Wars really opened up a lot of opportunity for me in particular to learn like, man, people do this stuff for a career, like in this way at this technical level, and they don't just kind of talk about what should happen, but it's like the actual hands-on, here's it happening. So I just totally fell in love with it.
Great. All right. We only have a few minutes left. Is there any last minute questions anyone has? While we are waiting for any of those to come in, Chris, how can people find you if they would like to stay in touch with you or ask you any other questions that they think of after we leave this call?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place. Love connecting with people. Also pretty active on the Slack for the most part, and then a few other Slack communities I'm in as well, like VetSec. Big fan of. So love doing this. If you are interested in the U.S. Cyber Team, please reach out as well and put in an application, either be a coach or a mentor. We're constantly looking for new individuals to help give back to the program. And then if you have the chance, please compete in the open CTF as well, just because it's a lot of fun and there's always something new to learn.
Awesome. Well, I think that is it for everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate everyone coming here. And Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story, your experience. This has definitely been great to hear about your time as a US cyber coach.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I really appreciate chatting with everyone. Thank you so much for the questions. These are tons of fun to chat with everyone. And always in Slack or LinkedIn, shoot me a message. Love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys need anything, please always reach out to us. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.